This bipartisan Senate report, it was released today, Tuesday. By the way, I don't think I even said it's the 18th of August, 2020. Yeah, I got sidetracked there talking about our great announcer. Right? No, I'm not going to say his name again. I don't want to embarrass him. A bipartisan Senate report was released today. And according to reports, it's the most comprehensive and meticulous examination to date, explaining how Russia did, in fact, yes, interfere in the 2016 presidential election, and that the Orange Apes campaign welcomed Russia's help, even though they are an adversary of the United States. The report reveals new information about contacts between Russian officials and associates of the Orange Ape and the Orange Ape himself during and after the campaign. Now, the average American at this point doesn't give a shit. I mean, we can't anymore. We know that this country is led by a half-wit, a thug, a liar, a crook, a man with absolutely no moral compass whatsoever, who is a toxic narcissist and suffers from a number, in my opinion, of borderline personality disorders, if that's not a misuse of that term. I'm sure it probably is, but I see him as just nuttier than a goddamn fruitcake. Dangerously so. But here is a report. What is this? The 7th, 10th, 20th, 8th, 18th report on Trump's involvement with Russia in stealing the presidential election in 2016. Now, in several key ways, the Senate Intelligence Committee's counterintelligence investigation goes way beyond the findings of the failing Robert Mueller. The failure Robert Mueller. What the hell? What was the Mueller investigation about anyway? Does anybody remember? 2 years. Now, we know what the Orange Ape called it, but I mean, seriously, from a legal standpoint, from a constitutional standpoint, from a standpoint of American law, what the hell was the Mueller investigation about? I defy you to tell me in one sentence. I can't. Anyway, the Senate Intelligence Committee's counterintelligence investigation goes way beyond what Mueller put together last year, because the Republican-led Senate panel, the Republicans in the Senate, of course, they have the majority. They lead this particular panel. They weren't limited by questions of criminality, which is what drove the special counsel probe. That's what drove Mueller's report. But here are some of the key findings. Here's 3 or 4. First of all, the Senate Intelligence Committee found that then campaign chairman Paul Manafort was working with Konstantin Kilimnik, a Russian intelligence officer, Russian military intelligence officer, and Manafort sought to share internal campaign information with Kilimnik. The Senate committee says it obtained, quote, some information suggesting Kilimnik may have been connected to Russia's 2016 hacking operation. That was to hack into the DNC and to Hillary Clinton's computer and to, who is the guy who was the head of her campaign? I forget his name. Doesn't matter. That's one finding. Here's another finding. That Trump and senior campaign officials obtained advance information on WikiLeaks' email dump from Roger Stone, that little pissant convict who should be in prison for the rest of his life, and that Trump did, in fact, have conversations with Roger Stone about how to get the information from WikiLeaks, even though Trump told the special counsel in written answers that he had no recollection. No, I don't remember a thing. I have no recollection that he had ever spoken to Roger Stone about any of this. A third point that the Senate Republican-led Intelligence Committee discovered. That is that Russian government actors continued until at least January 2020 to spread disinformation, lies about Russia's interference in the 2016 election that swung that election to the Orange Ape. And that Paul Manafort and the Russian Kilimnik both sought to promote the narrative that Ukraine, not Russia, interfered in the 2016 election. Oh, it wasn't us. No, look over there. It was them. Third point, that Russia took advantage of the Trump transition team's stupidity and ignorance and opposition to Obama administration policies to, quote, pursue unofficial channels, end quote. Now, what does that mean? That means the little Nazi Jew, Stephen Miller, and the other little Nazi Jew, Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. Both of those people are fifth columnists who have been working so closely with the Russians in order to disrupt the U.S. government, in order to bring to fruition this Vladimir Trumpian idea of fascism in the United States. Now, there are a bunch of Nazi Christians around Trump, too. But you have to remember one thing. So many immigrants to Israel of late, and by of late, I mean the past, 25 years, 30 years, have been Russian Jews. There is a connection between Israel and Russia that you probably don't want to know about. So for me to suggest and state several times on this program, this tie between a Nazi Jew like Stephen Miller, and trust me, he is, and the Russians, I should say a fascist Jew, I guess, and a fascist Jew like Jared Kushner, and he is Trump's son-in-law. Now, this is in addition, again, let me state it again, because I know that lurking out there in cyberspace are people who say, oh, listen, he's going after the Jews. No, I'm not. Not in the least. I am pointing out that Trump has surrounded himself with fascists, Christians and Jews. I don't think you'll find a fascist Muslim in that group. Oh, not to say that there aren't fascist Muslims. So the connection between Trump's inner circle, that is his closest advisors, including his totally demented sons, his fascist Jew son-in-law, the fascist Jew senior advisor, Stephen Miller, this connection is so tight, daylight doesn't get through. Now, the Russians knew this, and they took advantage of the ignorance of Stephen Miller, who's a dumb shit to begin with, the ignorance of Jared Kushner, who also is a dumb shit. They're conniving, they're sneaky, they would do anything for the Orange Ape, just like the Christian Nazis around Trump would do anything to defile Jesus of Nazareth, who, by the way, also is a Jew, do anything to defile their so-called Christian religion. Isn't there some way, isn't there some comparable excommunicative device within Judaism? I mean, when the Catholics get really, really pissed off at somebody because they really have committed shitty sins, they just throw them out of the church. You're no longer a Catholic. You can no longer receive the sacraments. Therefore, you are banned and shunned, and therefore you are going to burn in hell for all eternity. Don't the Jews have something comparable to that? Can't you take Stephen Miller and Jared Kushner and kick these two fascist thugs to the curb? Why do you allow them to continue to defile Judaism? Why do the Christians allow some of these rabid, insane, blood cult, so-called Christians to defile their religion? But I digress. I get so caught up in that, don't I? So the ignorance and inexperience of this transition team was like, to the Russian operatives, it's like a little 8-year-old walking into a candy store and the proprietor saying, help yourself, anything you want. So this allowing Russia, quote, to pursue unofficial channels in the Trump administration, that's exactly what it means. Oh, they're not going to name names. They're not going to say Stephen Miller. They're not going to say Jared Kushner. They will say Paul Manafort. But what do you think they mean by unofficial channels? And that Russian intelligence services and other operatives acting on Putin's behalf exploited the transition team's shortcomings, we'll call them, for Russia's advantage. Now, this is coming from the Republican-controlled Senate Intelligence Committee, the report released today. The fifth item. Is this a fifth? Yes, it is. That the FBI may have been victim to Russian disinformation coming through intelligence sources, such as the Trump dossier author Christopher Steele. Now, that's one I don't happen to agree with. But what they're saying there is that the Federal Bureau of Investigation may have been put in the trick bag by using that Christopher Steele dossier that could have been put together by Russian disinformation campaign experts to cloud up everything. See, when you are taking over the electoral system of a democracy, you need lots of smoke, lots of mirrors. And if there is any organization on earth that is expert at that, it is Russian intelligence. The next one, and this is the last one. You'll have to read the report. Conclusion that campaigns, political leaders, and other influential Americans must be even more diligent in the future not to fall victim again to Russian interference, given the extent of Russia's successes in reaching campaign operatives for the Orange Ape in 2016. Now, I don't know what could be more of an indictment against the ape and his operatives. What could be more of an accusation of treason? I mean, what? I realize that word is battered around a lot, but what is treason? If turning your country over to one of your chief adversaries is not considered treason, then what is? If rigging an election so that the person controlled by one of your political adversaries wins, if that's not treason, then we need a new definition of treason, don't we? Hey, Truth Seekers, Mike Malloy here. While you're sheltering in place and practicing safe social behavior, probably catching up on the Malloy cast, remember, we have a new weekly program just for our patron supporters. There are other thank you gifts for your support. Remember, visit MikeMalloy.com and click on the big patron link on the main page. You can't miss it, and we can't do without you.